Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_dada. Day late for you folks, but happy Mother's Day to any of the mothers that may be listening. We are in the midst of Mother's Day right now. I've got a little bit of a window. Had to get up, clean. By clean, I mean mostly tell the kids what to do, but I took the garbages out and stuff. Started the old dishwasher. Had some cheesecake for breakfast, obviously, and family has just gotten into a thing called geocaching, which I don't understand, but has become a massive obsession. And so they insisted I go find all the kids' geocaches, so we went and did that today, because that's been on the bucket list for a while. And now I get a little reprieve before we go out to Cracker Barrel, which has become the family's favorite. I used to love it when I was a kid. There was like one thing, it was like chip beef or something. I don't know what it was, but it was really good. And I just couldn't, I don't know if they took it off the menu or what. And I was like, I don't really like Cracker Barrel anymore. And we went back not too long ago. And first of all, my middle daughter discovered the love of steak and eggs, which, although not the cheapest meal in the world, as a dad, how can you not be, you got Mickey Mouse pancakes with all this crap on it. And my daughter's like, bro, give me steak and eggs with some runny eggs. And she's dipping it in the eggs and she's like dying in her chair. I'm like, this is the greatest. I will buy you this every time just to watch my daughter gorge and just devour steak and eggs. It's a thing of pride and just a thing of beauty. But we got that coming up tonight, so I gotta squeeze this in while we have some time. I was kind of torn on what exactly to do today. I feel like we're in a little bit of a... First of all, I've been constantly messing up what day it is. I probably messed it up yesterday. Today is Sunday, and there is no press conference today, so I was like, well, I'm just going to wait around because the press conference... No, it's Sunday. The press conferences are Monday. So we have a day to kill. Monday, which is when you're listening to this, there will be press conferences, which I will talk about on Tuesday. I don't know why this is so hard for me to wrap my head around, but I've been all off on the days. And anyways, I settled on, and I think it makes sense because we have the schedule release coming up this week, packersgames.com, check it out. But once that happens, one of the things I'm going to want to do is taking a little peek at some of our upcoming opponents, kind of analyzing the schedule as it comes out. Because again, any declarative statements, this will be a difficult schedule or we got an easy schedule, I don't like that. However, you can still use common sense and you can analyze things and you can speak with some percentage or some level of certainty. They'll probably be a good team, or these are some changes they made which appear to be... You know what I mean? So it's not 100% it's stupid. Why bother even looking at it? Because, the worst team in football might win the Super Bowl. That's not a thing. At least I don't think it's ever been a thing. I don't know. Maybe a thing. Not really the point. Not what we're focused on right now. Okay? Let's not get sidetracked. Anyways, I thought as somewhat of an intro into that, because we haven't really touched on it at all, and I've had fans of different teams kind of reach out and ask me, so what do you think about what the Bears did or this? And I'm like, I honestly don't know what you guys did. I haven't really paid attention. I thought today we would go through the NFC North and just kind of take a look. We know more or less what they were last year, and we'll do a brief recap of that. Look at some of the additions, subtractions, and that'll be what we do today. So if you're into that kind of thing, why don't you come along for the ride? I think the hardest part is trying to figure out what order to do it in. First of all, do you lead with the good stuff, or do you save the best for last? That's a tough question. If you think you can string everybody along, you save the best for last. Otherwise, you get the juicy stuff right up front, so you at least get people to hang out for a little bit. But also, what does that mean in the NFC North context? I mean, if you just went based on how good a team is, you'd save the Bears for last. I mean, as far as you'd put them in last place. But also, in terms of my personal disposition, you'd think the Bears would be the ones I want to talk about the most. And then, what do you do with I don't know. The Vikings and Lions. I mean, I guess the Lions are, you assume, the best team of the group. Are the Vikings not good? I guess that's what we're talking about, so it's hard to sort it out now. So we'll just go based on my own personal level of interest. I want to start with the Lions, and you can say I'm starting with the good team or whatever you want to say. It's honestly the team I'm the least interested in, partially because I don't think there's that many questions about the Lions. I mean, there's a major question of will they completely fall off with their offensive and defensive coordinators gone and whatever minor tweaks in between outside of that. Will Goff take a dip or whatever? But for the most part, I tend to think they probably won't, and if they do, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But I think they're the team we probably know the most about. Chicago Bears would probably be the next in terms of questions, and maybe that's kind of unfair, but it's hard to compete with the Vikings with their quarterback situation. But, the Bears are what they are. And if we're being honest, did they get better? It's hard to get worse, and it's also hard to make a big jump into now we're a very good football team. So more than likely, they're going to be better than they were last year, and they're still not going to be the Lions. That's a relatively safe estimate with some possibility. Every year they somehow find a way to get worse, so that's a possibility. And if Caleb just takes a massive jump, then guess what? They might win the division. Who knows? Now they got the genius offensive coordinator as the head coach, which might be an overstatement, but let's just say that. But again, it's hard to compete with the Vikings in terms of, man, I don't, it's hard to put your finger on the pulse of that team ever. They are consistently the most like, what the heck is going on with the Vikings? What was it, like 3 years ago when they were the most overrated or fake football team? Whereas like they weren't good, but they had this ridiculously good record. And then this past year, we were talking about how they might get the number 1 pick in the draft because they're so garbage. And this terrible quarterback goes out and is playing like an MVP caliber quarterback, and they just dominate everything. I have no idea what to expect from the Vikings, and I'm kind of just tired of guessing because I'm going to guess wrong every time. It's kind of like betting that the Bears are going to be good. You're just going to be wrong every time. So stop doing it. But I think that's how we're going to sort it out. We'll do Lions, then Bears, then Vikings. Okay? There you go. Nobody expected that, putting the Bears in the middle. Feels wrong doing it, but we're doing it. So, Detroit Lions, they went 15-2 last year with Dan Campbell. Pretty insane season for the Vikings and Lions in particular. They were number 1 in points on offense, number 2 in yards on offense, had the 7th-ranked defense in terms of points, although 20th in yards. Only 2 losses came week 2 against Tampa and then week 14 against Buffalo. No quarterback changes. They got Jared Goff here. He's going into year 4 with the Detroit Lions. He has been a very unstable quarterback in terms of what to expect. Year 1 was, aside from his rookie year in LA, his worst year of football. He had a 60 PFF grade. That went up to a 72, which went up to an 86, and then came back down to a 79 this past year. So seemingly peaked and is leveling off. Hopefully that continues downward. He was rewarded with a 4-year, $212 million extension by the Detroit Lions. So any question, early on there was question of this being kind of a short-term deal. It doesn't appear to be that way. And my hope is that this ends up being something where, similar to Kirk Cousins with Minnesota, he's a really good quarterback, but there begins to be questions, are we ever going to win a Super Bowl with this guy? Those haven't, as far as I know, they haven't started yet, but one more playoff appearance and not a Super Bowl, which all teams go through, but, unless you're the Chiefs or friggin' Patriots or something, the fans are going to start chirping. At running back, the 1-2 punch continues to be Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, both of which graded out as top 10 running backs last year, with Jahmyr Gibbs coming in at number 6. David Montgomery was 10th. Jahmyr Gibbs led the NFL last year with 41 runs of 10-plus yards as a rookie. That was back in 2023. David Montgomery is more the power guy. They can kind of put a little bit more on his shoulders in terms of carries and whatnot, freeing up Jahmyr Gibbs to, be their secret weapon type. So that's kind of their thunder and lightning approach, and again, that will continue into this year. Wide receiver, obviously, we know Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was graded as the 5th best wide receiver last year with an 89 PFF grade. He was locked up with a 4-year, $120 million extension that was signed about a year ago, actually, April 2024. Jameson Williams is a very odd piece of this group. He was taken in the first round back in 2022, has faced a bunch of different problems ranging from injuries to suspensions. The Lions fans have always been very high on him, and the expectations for him he hasn't quite lived up to. But he did crack 1,000 yards this past year, 1,020 yards and 7 touchdowns, 75 PFF grade. He's only 24 years old, so despite the ACL tear, and again, a little bit of a rocky start, he had his first basically breakout year in 2024. I'm sure Lions fans are hoping for an additional step in 2025. After that, things fall off pretty quickly, at least at the wide receiver group. Tim Patrick is a big 6'4" guy. He's got some injury issues, but he's relatively reliable if he can stay on the field. Khalif Raymond, kind of just a do-everything piece, depth piece, veteran guy, slot receiver, Z receiver, punt returner. And then the big addition this year, third-round pick Isaac Tesla. Obviously, they're hoping he can come in and be their number 3. He's potentially a Tim Patrick replacement, 6'4", big body, outside receiver type. Actually, why don't we real quick just run through their draft picks just so we can grab them, and then we'll see them as we go through. But just real quick, an overview of their picks. So in the first round, I was pretty shocked. Not necessarily positionally, but at 28, they took Tyleik Williams, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Now, Tyleik Williams is fine if you're looking for a pure nose tackle, and they do need defensive tackle help, but he offers basically nothing as a pass rusher. And I've said it 1,000 times, so it's not just anti-Lions bias here. I refuse to take a pure nose tackle in the first round. Now, you could argue that 28 is technically the second round, but I wouldn't even like it as a borderline first, second. If you had an early second round pick, I still don't like it. It's just I don't want to say it's a low value position, but who is your favorite pure nose tackle through, let's just say, all of human history? Now, that's not fair because you could probably go back to Gilbert Brown. I don't know how much of a pass rusher he was. He offered a little bit of something, didn't he? I don't know, maybe not. Doesn't matter. Bottom line is, in the last 10, 15, 20 years, which defensive tackles at 330 pounds that provide no pass rush is your favorite? If you can even come up with a name, you deserve a little pat on the back. I couldn't tell you. And it's not that they don't provide any value. It's just, it's a stretch to take him at 28. But, they need a lot of help on the inside. Could say he's an Alim McNeil replacement, which is perfectly fine. Again, they need him. But, geez, it's a little early. At second round pick 57, they took Tate Ratledge, an offensive lineman out of Georgia. So sticking with the trenches, not surprising. Again, from a value standpoint, you go nose tackle and, interior offensive lineman, but you can't fault the Lions for sticking to their core philosophy, especially as things start to deteriorate. They saw their defensive line fall apart with injuries last year. The offensive line is like everybody else. It's only dominant for so long. You can be dominant for a year and then assume every year it's going to start deteriorating. So you got to constantly keep this thing up. So I can't be mad at them for trying to maintain what they have on that offensive line. Round 3, we just talked about it. Isaac Tesla, wide receiver out of Arkansas. Big body guy they're hoping can replace Tim Patrick and be that solid number 3 outside piece. It makes sense. You got your big 6'4" X receiver. You got Jamison as your speed receiver, and you got Amon-Ra as your primary slot receiver. Round 5, they get Miles Frazier, guard out of LSU. Again, trenches. Round 6, defensive end Ahmed Hassanin, defensive end out of Boise State, sticking with defensive line. Then they get Dan Jackson, safety out of Georgia, and then Dominic Lovett, wide receiver out of Georgia. By the way, what is that? Is that 3 guys from Georgia? I thought the Packers are obsessed with Georgia. That's pretty wild. It's, 1, 2, 3. All right, back at it. Tight end, obviously, they got Sam Laporta. I was kind of sad about that. Me, like many other Packer fans, were pretty high on Sam Laporta. He is a solid guy. I don't know if he's ever going to be a truly elite guy, but he is a fantastic football player. He did technically take a step back this past year. Doesn't look like he missed any time, but his targets completely plummeted. So I don't know if that was an offensive thing schematically or what, but he went from 144 targets down to 85 targets. And again, I don't think he missed a single game. He went from 1,065 yards as a rookie down to 777, from 11 touchdowns down to 8. His PFF grade went from a 77 down to a 74. Receiving grade went from an 82 to a 79. Still, still a very good football player, but seemed to have regressed. I don't know if there were some injury issues. Again, let's see, he didn't play week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Didn't play week 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 8. So he missed one game, presumably one of those is a bye week. So I don't know, but still solid. Offensive line, obviously a very massive piece of what this team does. Left tackle Taylor Decker was a 2016 first-round pick. He is obviously starting to get up in age. Maybe these guys, some of them can play till they're 38 years old. You never know, but you start hitting 30, again, makes sense why you want to just keep these picks coming. They stuck with interior, obviously going a little bit more need-based as opposed to looking into the future. But at going on 31 years old here, he had a 78 pass blocking grade and a 70 run blocking grade, which is a really consistent for him. I mean, he's been roughly that his entire career. Going back to 2016, he's been with Detroit the entire time. He's played nothing but left tackle, 8,545 snaps at left tackle, 4 at right tackle, which came in 2022. But very, very steady presence over on that left side. Again, they'll have to start looking to the future eventually. Maybe they have somebody in mind already, but that's something they're going to have to work on. On the right side, obviously, Penei Sewell, one of the best, if not the best offensive lineman in football. He is number 7 overall selection. He's a better run blocker than pass blocker, which is why I've always said Zach Tom is kind of in the same. It's so weird because they're very different looking, different builds, and they're different styles, with one being more pass and one being more run. But very similar, both right tackles. Both of them are good at run and pass blocking. Zach Tom is a better pass blocker according to PFF, but this guy is an absolute monster. 92 run blocking grade. 2023, he had a 95 run blocking grade. He's just a freaking wall. Pass blocking is pretty moderate for him. He's not bad at it, but his grades since his rookie year were essentially 70, 74, 79, 75. So he is good. He's not elite, but he's very, very good. He also got himself a big contract, 4 years, $112 million in 2024. And the center of that line is Frank Ragnow, very well-known, established center. Very similar in that he's an elite run blocker, not as much a good pass blocker. In fact, in his last 3 years, which are the only really 3 years where he's been like a full-time legit starter for Detroit, I mean, not exactly, but he hasn't played 1,000. He's played 1,000 snaps 4 times. 3 of them were this past year, okay, or these past 3 years. Let's put it that way. In the past 3 years, he reached a 70 pass blocking grade 1 time. It was in 2023, and it was a 70.3. So his run blocking grades since 2019 have been 78, 81, 90, 79, 91, 91. His pass blocking grades in that time have been 70, 75, 74, 69, 70, 66. So he's cracking 30 years old. His pass blocking has gone down, and as a run blocker, he's quite good. But even that is pretty intermittent. He's got as many low games as he has really high games. So, he's a really good center, but I wouldn't put him up in the stratosphere, especially, again, I know the Lions love their run blocking, and I get all that, but it is not as valuable as pass blocking. It's just not. So being a elite run blocker and mediocre pass blocker doesn't make you an elite center. It just doesn't. But he's solid. At left guard, I'm not entirely sure. I'm guessing they're going Graham Glasgow. They do have the 2024 6th-round pick, Christian Mahogany. I don't know if that's a competition worth keeping an eye on or not. But bottom line, Graham Glasgow was really bad this past year. In fact, he's never been like a dominant player. I think his best year was 2023 in Detroit. He was with Detroit. He was fine. Then he went to Denver. He was bad. He came back and, again, good run blocker in 2023, 82 grade, but a 54 pass blocking grade. This past year, 60 run blocking, 50 pass, in fact, 49.8. He didn't even quite reach 50. He gave up 5 sacks, 11 hits, 29 hurries, 45 total pressures. He was kind of terrible, and he's going on 33. So he's still on the team, as far as I know. I would assume Mahogany would be taking over. He was a rookie 6th-round pick this past year. He played in essentially 2 games, had a 92 PFF grade, 91 run blocking grade, 79 pass blocking grade. Now, again, it's 2 games. Primarily that came from his game against Washington in the playoffs. He had a 92 grade, 92 run blocking, 73 pass blocking in that game. That's where a lot of his grades come from. But again, if I'm a Lions fan, I'm looking at it going, please what are you going to lose putting him in there? So I would assume that's a competition, and I would also assume that he is going to win that competition. And then on the right side, oh, by the way, obviously there's all the draft picks that are worth keeping an eye on as potential options. 2nd-round pick, Tate Ratledge. 5th-round pick, Miles Frazier. So interior is going to have some competition. I don't think Graham Glasgow is going to be the left guard one way or another. On the right side, Kevin Zeitler. He was their guard last year. I don't think he's even with the team this year. So that's where, again, I don't know which side you go on, but Mahogany left guard, Ratledge right guard perhaps would be the way that goes. And then if Graham Glasgow even, makes the team as a depth piece, you have him and Miles Frazier kind of holding down on the inside. So again, you look at it and say it's pretty low value positions, but at the same time, you find a spot where you're like, ha, you jerks are finally falling apart. You lost your right guard. Your left guard's no good anymore. He's old and he's washed up. You suck. And it's like, okay, well, we found a 6th-round guy that's actually good. We drafted 2 more this year. It's like, dang it. Freaking jerks. We'll see how it goes, but, it seems like they probably aren't going to take a massive step back, especially with Graham Glasgow playing pretty poorly this past year. On the defensive line, obviously, you've got, on the edge, Aiden Hutchinson. He missed a lot of last year. So the other thing to remember is, they did what they did without probably their best player on the team. Aiden Hutchinson played 5 games. He had a 95 PFF grade, a 95 pass rush grade. He had 8 sacks. 8 sacks. He had more sacks than most of our team, and he played, I don't even know if he finished 5 games. 5 games. Yeah, looks like we'll call it an even 5, because he was only 32 snaps that last game, but he plays some ridiculously high snaps in other games. But still, 45 pressures in 198 pass rush attempts. I mean, this guy is an absolute freaking monster. On the opposite side of that, that's where it gets a little tough. There was a lot of talk about they need to find themselves a kind of number 2 to complement him. They didn't really do that. They still got Al-Qadim Muhammad. They've got Marcus Davenport as, I'm assuming, going to be the dude, but I really don't know. You got Josh Paschal. I mean, all of these guys, so just going through the whole list here, Josh Paschal, Marcus Davenport, Mitchell Agude, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Nate Lynn, Ahmad Hassanin, who they drafted, Trevor Nowaski, Isaac Ukwu. The highest graded player of this group was Al-Qadim Muhammad last year. He ranked 73rd and had a 60.7 PFF grade. So the defensive line needs quite a bit of help. They focused obviously mostly on the interior as far as the draft is concerned, but pending some kind of a revival here, Josh Paschal takes a big step or something. I don't know that this is going to be, they're going to get much help outside of Aiden Hutchinson, so he's going to need to be healthy. On the interior, DJ Reader is a big dog on the inside. Alim McNeil is their top guy, but he's probably going to be out for a little while. Again, that's where Tyleik Williams comes in. I don't know the plan with McNeil. but I did see that was a note that he may be out for a little bit of time. So Tyleik Williams slides into that spot. But again, McNeil's the only guy really on the interior that's worth a darn. Levi and Wuzurike is not terrible. They got a lot of bodies, and they brought in some pieces, and we'll see what Tyleik Williams can do on the interior, obviously, especially as a run defender, which is an area they need help with. The pass rush is there, including with Alim McNeill, by the way. You look at the run defense, and the highest graded is Aiden Hutchinson, and even that's just a 71. Outside of that, you got a 64, a 62, a bunch of 50s and 40s. Like, it's a problem. And maybe that's where the linebackers come in and the safeties come in. Kirby Joseph is fantastic. Jack Campbell is fantastic. So maybe it's not that big of a deal because they can come in and fill in there. But based on the way they drafted, I have to assume that is going to be a little bit of a priority, is to make sure the guys up front can get the job done a little bit better. But this group was just completely decimated last year. So how it all falls together this year, I don't really know. But that's more or less where we're at. It's the defensive line is really not a very good group, but they maybe have the best pass rusher in football among them. So it's hard to talk trash. At linebacker, they're mostly like most teams, a nickel defense. So they got their two linebackers, which are comprised of Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone. Jack Campbell ranked 10th among linebackers. I talked a lot of trash. And, listen, if you're going to get low-value positions in the first round, you shouldn't, by the way, but they better be home runs. And unfortunately, it looks like that's the case. I think they went running back and linebacker, and both of them are top 10 players at their position. So, unfortunately, when you got Quay Walker, you look really stupid because you picked a position you shouldn't pick, and the expectations are sky high if you do that. It didn't work out for us. It did work out for the Lions. I think they followed that up with a safety, so it was like, you freaking stupid, tight end and safety. It's like, you guys are so, like, these are the worst positions in the world. Well, then they get Sam Laporta and Brian Branch, or corner/safety, whatever. You talk about a really good year for drafting. Like I said, there are GMs whose entire careers can be set up on like one really good draft. I think the Eagles have had like two really good drafts, which has set them up. Detroit had a phenomenal draft. I mean, Penei Sewell is really not all that impressive. If you're picking inside the top 10, borderline top 5, I kind of shrug my shoulders at it a little bit. But you start picking up guys in the late first, second, third, fourth round, home run hitters. I gotta tip my cap a little bit. But yeah, they got a good group there. Jack Campbell, again, 10th. Alex Anzalone, getting a little bit older, still provides a little bit as a compliment, but at some point probably going to want to look in a different direction. Corners where they had a ton of turnover. They got rid of Cam Sutton. There were some off-the-field issues there, so they had to let him go. They also let go Emmanuel Mosley. They brought in DJ Reed. That was the one guy I really wanted, again, as a replacement for a guy that they already had. They've also got Terrion Arnold, who is a first-round pick. That one's not looking very good as of right now. Terrion Arnold last year ranked 109th out of 116, so one of the worst corners in the entire NFL. DJ Reed, by the way, 31st, so I know he was one of the big free agent signings that I wanted, but I don't want anybody to think that it was like, oh, he's a top 5 guy or anything. He's in the arguably a number 1 category. And then looking at the slot, you got Amik Robertson. He was a free agent pickup out of Las Vegas. As of right now, penciled in to be kind of a slot guy. I know we've got some secondary people that can kind of slide in there. I'm not exactly sure how that all is going to pan out, but then they got Ennis Rakestraw, Rock Ya-Sin, Avonte Maddox, some depth pieces there. Overall, it's really not a very good group. DJ Reed, again, kind of a low-end number 1 type of guy. Obviously, he could get better, he could get worse, I don't know, but 31st. But Amik Robertson and Terrion Arnold that's pretty rough, especially Terrion. And again, who knows? Maybe Ennis Rakestraw steps up. He's going into his second year. He's a second-round guy. I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out. But if Terrion Arnold doesn't take a big step, that's a big swing and a miss there. At safety, though, Brian Branch is a phenomenal player. 84 grade, 91 run defense. That was his whole thing in college. Again, I didn't like his sort of lack of aggression, but fundamentally sound, very, very good tackler, and obviously that has no issue or bearing on anything in Detroit. He's doing real well. 78 coverage grade, 88 pass rush grade. And then you've also got Kirby Joseph, who last year was ranked as the number 1 safety in football. And Kirby Joseph, well, first of all, very well known for being a dirty football player, so he's not very well liked even among other NFL players. He's kind of a very disliked guy, but the production was certainly there. 91 coverage grade, 84 run defense grade. Guys don't usually stay on their feet when you take out their knees, is what he's learned. But either way, probably the best safety tandem in football. So you got elite pass rusher, iffy corner group, probably about the same as last year. Solid linebackers, elite safeties. Real, some holes there, but a real solid group if they can stay healthy. They do have a change in coaching staff. John Morton is the new offensive coordinator, taking over for Ben Johnson, who left to Chicago. Morton was the Lions' offensive assistant in 2022, brings experience from coaching under Sean Payton. He's vowed to maintain the explosive vertical offense Detroit thrived in, emphasizing the big plays downfield, much like Johnson did. Under Johnson, Lions had the top offense in 2024, and Morton inherits a unit that set franchise records of 33.2 points per game and 409.5 yards per game. Expect continued creative play calling with heavy play action, a strong run game presence, and deep shots to keep defenses honest. So that's the game plan, right? That's why we need an elite offensive line. We're going to scare the crap out of you with our run game, and then we're going to take shots over your head. New defensive coordinator is Kelvin Shepard. He was promoted from linebackers coach to defensive coordinator after Aaron Glenn took the Jets job. Shepard's been with Campbell since 2021 and will keep the defensive scheme philosophy intact. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they're trying to keep continuity here. Campbell emphasized that the defense's core identity will not change. Heavy man-to-man coverage and plenty of pressure blitzing, which, by the way, I was thinking about it, is probably why you see poor run defense grades among the defensive front and more of an emphasis on the linebackers and safeties, because they have a very similar philosophy of pin your ears back and go get the quarterback. That's my assumption. Shepard is a former NFL linebacker. He's helped develop the young defense and will focus on improving consistency. The scheme is a 4-2-5 base, aggressive in coverage, trusting the cornerbacks in islands, and designed to create turnovers and negative plays. So, can't argue with it. I think the Lions GM has obviously done a fantastic job these last couple of years. You kind of hope that it's just sort of a lucky streak and he starts to fall off a little bit. We'll see how this current crop goes. But, I mean, he's set himself up on a really solid foundation. Again, couple early picks, which, I can't give you 100% credit, but, man, when you get Aiden Hutchinson and Penei Sewell, you didn't squander the opportunity. All right. We've obviously been going pretty long here. We'll see. I'll try to squeeze the other two in here as quickly as I can. But we'll take a break, and we'll be right back. All right, next up, Chicago Bears. They went 5-12 this past year. 28th ranked offense in scoring, 32nd in yards, 13th on defense in points, 27th on defense in yards. They had an incredible stretch of losing. I mean, just terrible. They actually started the season at 4-2, and then they lost to Washington, lost to Arizona, lost to New England, lost to Green Bay, lost to Minnesota, lost to Detroit, lost to San Francisco, lost to Minnesota, lost to Detroit, lost to Seattle, and then beat the frickin' Packers in a last-minute field goal when the Packers were in a complete downward spiral and started benching players because we're frickin' stupid, and it's like, let's play everyone, and then it's like, oh, shoot, I don't want people to get hurt. Let's start benching them now. Let's actually really care and then stop caring enough to actually lose the game. Pick a frickin' lane. Anyways, I'm a little annoyed that we lost that game. Kind of going in reverse a little bit here. Head coach is Ben Johnson, as we talked about, hired in 2025 as the new head coach. Previous offensive coordinator for the Lions from 2022 to 2024. He's got a reputation as one of the NFL's most innovative young offensive minds. He led Detroit's offense to top 5 ranking each year, even number 1 in 2024. His background with the Lions and before that with the Miami Dolphins as an assistant emphasized creative play calling, player development, which he now brings to Chicago to spearhead a new era. The offensive coordinator is going to be Declan Doyle. He was the Denver Broncos tight ends coach from 23 and 24. Young offensive coach, he's learned under Sean Payton in New Orleans. Helped develop Denver's offense, notably aiding in Bo Nix's growth, which he did grow quite a bit. I don't know why he gets credit for that as the tight ends coach, but fine. He's going to reunite with Ben Johnson. Both of them have ties to the Saints. He's going to help install Johnson's offensive system. Doyle is known for his attention to detail and was praised for fostering individual player development. Defensive coordinator is Dennis Allen. He's a veteran coach. Probably know quite a bit about him. Another Saints guy. I don't know what's up with the Saints. You got the Lions all getting Saints guys. The Bears are all getting Saints guys. They're poaching the Sean Payton guys or something. Denver and the Saints. But he's got 30 years of coaching experience, which, by the way, the Matt LaFleur did this too when he brought in Pettine, remember? He's never been a head coach before. He obviously wants to focus on the offensive side of things, and so he essentially goes and gets a head coach to run the defense so he doesn't have to touch that. I think it's a smart move. Didn't necessarily work with Pettine, but I think that was a needed thing. But 30 years of experience, including head coaching stints with the Raiders in 2012 and Saints in 2022 through 2024. As New Orleans defensive play caller from 2015 onward, Allen consistently fielded top 10 defenses. The Saints were the only NFL team top 10 in points allowed in 4 straight seasons, 2020 to 2023. He's a respected defensive mind, known for an adaptable 4-3 scheme and strong secondary play. In fact, the Saints had the NFL's number 2 pass defense in 2022 under Allen. After parting ways with New Orleans, Allen joined Chicago to rebuild the Bears' D and will also lend head coach experience on staff. They're going to keep their special teams coordinator, Richmond Hightower. Some other notable pieces that were brought in. He brought in Super Bowl winning wide receiver to coach the wide receivers, Antoine Randall Al Harris, obviously very well-known, respected Green Bay Packer, is going to be the defensive pass game coordinator. He's an ex-Pro Bowl corner. I think that they felt that they had a good thing in Detroit with former players. Their defensive coordinator, their head coach. I have a feeling that's kind of part of what this is. They really like the mentality that those guys are able to bring to their players, and then that translates onto the field. That's the philosophy. We'll see if it actually pans out, but I don't necessarily hate it. Potentially got a home run here getting Eric Bieniemy as their running backs coach. I obviously have been mocking the idea that Bieniemy should obviously be a head coach. Tried it, failed miserably. But to go all the way back to running backs coach, I mean, there's some rumors about him being maybe a little bit toxic, which isn't great, but, again, obviously hate the Bears, but you can't help but feel like that's a bit of a home run there. Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator for many, many years. Press Taylor, fresh off a stint with Jaguars offensive coordinator as offensive pass game coordinator, adding another innovative mind known for his work with Doug Peterson and helping develop Trevor Lawrence. Dan Rauscher, offensive line, a bunch of other guys here. Trying to see if there's anybody of note that's interesting. Most important thing for us is that Ryan Poles is still the GM, so every reason to believe that this team will not succeed because I just have no faith in that guy. Bears obviously made a bunch of moves in free agency. I think they were massively overhyped, but some good players for sure. They got Joe Thuney. That's one of the big ones. Came from the Chiefs. Gave up a 2026 fourth-round pick to do that. Also traded a 6th-round pick to go get right guard Jonah Jackson. That was a 2025 pick. Now, I don't think giving up all these picks is a good idea. A lot of these guys are older, so you're making short-term investments and giving up long-term investments to do it. By the time that 2026 4th-round pick would have been ready to make a contribution, there's a good chance that Joe Thuney will not even be on your team anymore. And they do that consistently, and I don't think it's wise. In terms of this year, yeah, Joe Thuney's a big hitter. Jonah Jackson is not a very good player, but their right guard situation has been a disaster, so he probably is at least good enough to continue playing that. I don't know. Those were trades, and then in free agency, they got center Drew Dahlman. They paid 3 years, $42 million. That was, again, in a very weak class, considered to be a great pickup. He is very much in Lions tradition, a really good run blocker, not a very good pass blocker, but hard to knock it. I mean, he's still overall a good football player. Defensively, they added Deo Odenigbo, another thing that they all freaked out about. It's not a big signing. 3 years, $48 million. I'm not scared of Deo Odenigbo at all. I saw a lot of Packer fans are like, we got to go get this guy. No idea why. He's not a very good football player. They got Nick McLeod to be some depth at corner. They got Kevin Byard to play at safety. And then in the draft, in the first round, they got tight end Colston Loveland. It's hard to really assess my thoughts on that necessarily. I generally don't think these guys ever pan out. I don't know what it is. I mean, how many times have the Lions taken swings at early first-round tight ends and they just don't work out? I'm trying to think of the last time somebody did, aside from this past year. Obviously, was incredible, 2024. But we'll see. We'll see. I thought, they loved their tight end. Apparently, they want something different. They are obsessed with getting their weapons for their quarterback, and they got their offensive lineman. Now we're going to get a better tight end, and then we're going to follow that up with a wide receiver, obviously. Which again, I can't talk trash about it because I'm skipping a pick here, but they got Luther Burden. And as I said, I really liked Luther Burden a lot. So I can't talk trash about him. But they got those two weapons in addition to everything else they got for their quarterback. The first second-round pick was actually, this is via Carolina. They got defensive tackle Shamar Turner. They need some help on that defensive line as well, so they went out and got him. In the fourth round, they added Ruben Hoplite, or Hippolyte, or however you say it. I always think Hoplite as in like the Roman legions or however that works. I don't know why every time I see that guy. But speedy, rangy linebacker. Fifth round, they got Za Frazier, smaller corner guy. Sixth round, Luke Newman, offensive lineman out of Baylor. Seventh round, they got running back Kyle Monangai, which I know somebody was kind of making some jokes about, like, we got our guy. This guy's he's going to be a stud. Because obviously the Bears were really looking at getting a running back, and they took a swing in the seventh round. But anyways, some of the guys that they lost safety Eddie Jackson. That was somewhat of a disastrous situation. Offensive lineman Cody Whitehair, similarly. Two guys that exploded, got paid, and fell off. Very weird. Tevin Jenkins they decided to move on from. Actually a very good football player. I mean, you could argue that if Tevin Jenkins was healthy, they didn't really upgrade their position very much, but he just was never healthy, so it's hard to argue that. They lost linebacker Jack Sanborn, running back Khalil Herbert, punter Trenton Gill, and long snapper Patrick Scales. So there you go. Real quick run through of their roster here. It all, very similar to what I say about the Packers and Jordan Love. It all comes down to Caleb. Caleb Williams had a 64 passing grade, 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Bears fans are very excited about the lack of interceptions. Congratulations, I guess, 2.6%. It is low. Unfortunately, that didn't come with any production behind that, but that's going to be the entire thing. If Caleb is still bad, the Bears will suck. And by the way, my daughter's plural favorite song now, just randomly though, Alexa, not you actually, play Bears Still Suck, and then it'll go on and do it. They love that song. Like I said, when we went to the draft, my daughter was geeking out, what are they saying? They're chanting the Bears Still Suck. My daughter's like, this is the greatest thing. I don't know if it's because you get to say suck or whatever. I don't know. Probably would tell her not to say that. It's not nice to say, but considering it's the Bears Still Suck, I'll allow it. That entire day, she was chanting Bears Still Suck, Bears Still Suck. She'd hear somebody off in the distance and be like, they're saying Bears Still Suck. I don't keep score for my kids. But if I did, let's just say my middle daughter, who is now going out eating steak and eggs and is obsessed with the Bears Still Suck, is gaining ground on whoever might even be in first. I don't know. She's climbing the rankings. But yeah, it all comes down to that. On the receiving side, I mean, look, they're going to need some continuity fast because part of the issue is that guys like DJ Moore, who had his best year ever with Justin Fields and flat out said, do not get rid of Justin Fields. He's better than everybody that's in the draft, basically calling out Caleb. They get rid of Fields, they bring in Caleb, and DJ Moore did not have a super good season. They also drafted Roma Dunze because they're obsessed with just getting more. They got Allen Robinson. He's gone now, but still. DJ Moore, who didn't have a bad year, but did have his worst year since his rookie season in Carolina, which wasn't even a full season. If you don't include his rookie season, this was the worst year of his career from a PFF grade standpoint. It was his second worst year from a purely statistical standpoint, but that's only if you look at total numbers. Because in 2022, he played less, so he ended up with less. But if you look at yards per reception, his lowest ever was 2021 at 12.4. This past year was 9.9. So not good at all. His highest graded game was against Green Bay, 79.4 grade, 78 receiving grade. That was his highest graded game. 2 games where he hit 100 yards, only 1 game with multiple touchdowns. Rome Odunze, who was the first-round phenom, had 3 games where he graded in the 70s. 3. And that's it. No 80s or 90s. I'm just saying 3, period. Washington, Green Bay week 11. They all show up for frickin' Green Bay. And San Francisco week 14, and that's it. 2 games where he hit 100 yards, 3 touchdowns total. So now you can add Luther Burden to that group, throw him presumably in the slot. You got a new tight end toy to play with. Defensive side is just kind of rough across the board. I mean, just really pretty bad. They got maybe 2 guys that are pretty decent in Jalen Johnson at corner, who, by the way, as I said he would, because I've never made a prediction about the Bears and been wrong in my entire freaking life. He was the number 1 corner in football, and I said he's going to fall off. Not even just the number 1 thing. I mean, he's not going to have a 90 grade again. His grades went from 55, 64, 63, 90. And I said he's going to fall off. He'll probably level off somewhere, not all the way down in the 60s or 50s, but he's going to come down. Where did he land? 76. Still good, but he ain't going to do that again. Outside of that is Byard, who they went out and got, who is 32 years old, because the Bears love going out and getting old people. Outside of that, they don't have really any good football players. They got Deo Odenigbo, who's not very good. They have Montez Sweat, who they went out and paid, who had his worst season, probably you could say ever, aside from his rookie season. It was his worst year ever. Really not good. On the interior, Gervon Dexter did take a big jump from year 1 to year 2, so that'll be the thing to keep an eye on. They also went out and got Grady Jarrett, which was supposedly some big addition. Grady Jarrett has not been a good football player since 2020, hasn't been an elite player since 2019. He is 32 years old and has been washed for 4 years. They got Noah Sewell, Penne's brother, who's really not good at linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds, who again, correct about everything. 2022, he had a completely flukish year. I said that's not going to repeat itself. He's been with the Bears for 2 years and has been bad for 2 years. TJ Edwards fell off last year. I don't know what happened to him. And then Jaquan Brisker, who was a second-round pick that the Bears fans were convinced was some kind of a premier player. He was mediocre for 2 years, was mediocre last year for 5 weeks, and then got hurt and didn't play anymore. So the defense is just bad. So what did they do in the draft? And in the offseason? They built up the offensive line. By the way, if you just look at this offensive line right now, based on how everybody ranked, their left tackle, Braxton Jones, ranked 21st with a 77 grade. That's solid. Left guard Joe Thuney, 32 years old, but still, ranked 7th with an 80 grade. Drew Dahlman, ranked 4th with a 79 grade. Jonah Jackson didn't rank because he missed a bunch of time, but he was, 34th, 27th, 24th. Let's just say he's roughly a number 1 at guard. And then Darnell Wright ranked 16th with a 79 grade. I mean, there are no excuses. You have guys that are like top 10 across the board on your offensive line. 70s and 80s across the entire offensive line. You have Colston Loveland, who is a top 10 pick. You have Luther Burden, who was brought in, along with Rome Odunze, who was drafted as a top 10 pick, and DJ Moore at wide receiver. Okay? They completely neglected this defense. Completely. To help you out. I am so sorry, Caleb, but if you don't dominate this year, you're a piece of garbage. The goal, especially with this terrible defense, is to win like 35-29 every day. That's it. Every single game, you need to score 30 points or more to compensate for this defense. And we've given you every single tool you could ask for. We gave everything up to go get DJ Moore. Well, that's a complicated way to say it. We actually got him in a pile of things. But it was a huge trade. Odunze's top 10, Loveland's top 10. We got 3 offensive linemen, plus a top 10 pick right tackle. I mean, if you are not a top 10, top 5 offense, you suck so bad. And if the Bears are losing football games like 24-28, I don't want to hear anything about, the defense is the problem. No. This is what you built. You built a team that needs to score 30 to win. You're expected more because you were given more. You want the defense to compensate for you? In what universe is 32-year-old Grady Jarrett going to put this team on his back? His knees can't handle that anymore, bro. You don't have any linebackers. You don't have a pass rusher. Bro, pending some breakouts here, Montez Sweat comes back from the dead. Deo Denabo has his first game ever. Trevon Dexter takes a third step into being like a top 3 guy. I don't know what all could happen. Jalen Johnson goes back to being the number 1 corner. I don't know. By the way, it's so stupid to me that you get rid of these young guys because they don't work out anymore. And to backfill that, you go get a 32-year-old guy. I mean, it's a 1-year investment. Are you going to win the Super Bowl this year or what? You're just going to have to replace him again next year. I don't know what you're doing. It's so stupid. But you got everything, right? Again, Dahlman is really not it's deceiving to say he's the 4th best when he has a 66 pass blocking grade. But I don't care. 21st, 7th, 4th, Jackson, and 16th is how your offensive line ranks. 77, 80, 79, call it 65, 79. Your offensive line, there's no excuses. 0. I don't want to freaking hear it. Okay. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to do the Vikings right now. We're going to save that because that would just carry us into about an hour and a half. So we'll just do the one break today. So we will sneak in the Vikings probably tomorrow along with the press conferences. We may not have time with the press conferences, but we'll do it the day after as we get closer to the schedule release. By the way, PackersGames.com. Go check it out. I started deleting some, but I kept up like 1 game each. So I got a preseason, a regular season, and a playoff game so you guys can just kind of see the functionality of the site, which I am very proud of. By the way, if you like the site, there's a little support us button up there if you wouldn't mind. I like doing these things, but I probably shouldn't keep doing it and losing money on them. So seriously, like $10, I'd break even on this. I'm just saying. And then once I do that, I can go make another one. What I want to do is build like a 53-man roster thing. I'll probably put it on this site to save money because I don't need to be buying new websites every single time. But I'll just do like a 53-man roster prediction tool. Should be pretty easy to put together. Not exactly sure the functionality, but it'd be kind of fun. I know like JJ and Bruce like to have their competition, so if there's a way that they could like host it on the site so it's a little bit more official. I also want something that's like social media, what do you call it? Something that'd be good to like share, so you can like download the image of it and post it on X or Facebook or whatever and be like, here's my prediction for the 53. Presentable, you know what I mean? So maybe I'll get to work on that tomorrow or something. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm going to get out of here. You all have a good rest of your day. We're pretty much ready to do a Packernet After Dark, but it's cutting it close. We've only got 9 calls, so I'm just going to wait. We'll do it tomorrow on Monday. So get your calls in, and I will talk to you then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Another Bears fan throwing insults in our face. The Packers are the greatest team to ever play the game, even if from time to time they've been a little lame. How could you ever love a team with Jim McMahon? Not even Porky Pig was as big a ham. They got a reputation that's mostly based on luck. The Bears still suck. 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 They really, 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 really suck. Yes, the Bears still suck. If you drive to Soldier Field, they make you pay a toll. For crime's sake, they only won one lousy Super Bowl. They make fun of Wisconsin, but we don't get upset. Where do you think that they're all headed every chance they get? We don't really hold a